Hi, and welcome to a very special episode of Place Name Here. Now, as you can see, we're not in the basement anymore. In fact, we're in the Dalton household kitchen. And we're here today to make a very special treat for a very special co-host. You see, Sean Miller bested me in a Star Trek trivia game. And as per the stakes of the game, I have to cook for him his favorite food. And of course, his favorite food, the wonderful thing called pizza. So we're here today in the kitchen for me to show you just how I cook that wonderful treat. So, let's roll up our sleeves and hopefully not get any arm or body hair in the pizza, and I'll show you exactly how I make pizza. Let's dig in. Now, for this specific recipe, we're not going to make a dough from scratch. Now, I know that there's a lot of purists out there who might say, well, you're not making it from scratch if you're not making everything from scratch. Well, to be honest, I don't have the time to make dough from scratch, and I don't know too many people that do anymore. So what we're going to go ahead and use is my good friend, I can't say the actual name, but we'll just call it Spiffy. So it's simple. With this, all we have to do is pour it into a bowl, add a little bit of water, and let it sit for 5 minutes. Make sure you get all in there. Get her all mixed together. And this is where you get to have a little bit of fun. I usually like to get my hands in on this and start to actually work with the dough in my hands. Like this. You get a nice sort of ball, and we're going to set this aside, and we're going to set this aside for about 5 minutes just to kind of let it all work together, let that yeast get into there, get everything all mixed together, and there we go. We're going to let this sit in a nice warm environment. So in the house, you don't want to make sure this is you don't want to put this on the back porch, you don't want to do anything like that. So just like that. We're going to go set this in the living room. It's a little warmer in there. Now that we've got our dough sitting out there for 5 minutes, it's time to talk about my favorite part, the cheese. Now we've got two different kinds of cheeses here. We've got mozzarella, you know, your classic sort of cheese, but then I also picked up some Munster cheese, and we're going to be combining these two. So it's been about 5 minutes, so our dough is starting to take shape here. So what we need to do next is we need to flour this, and we need to start to mold it, to fold it in, to try to make it into a pizza crust. This is going to take a little bit of work. With a little bit of luck, we'll have this thing ready to go. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to kind of clear off some space for ourselves. Let's just make sure that all this is out of our way. We'll move back our ingredients for later. We'll make sure it's a nice sort of clean open space. And what I'm actually going to do, sorry wifey, I'm going to take the ring off just in case. So we'll set that aside here. And now we're going to start to flour our workspace and start to knead it into our dough. So next we're going to need some flour. Now this is about a 1/4 cup scoop. That's usually way too much, so I'm going to knock some of that off. Get it down to almost 1/8 of a cup, and we'll have this just the side where we're going to be kneading, so I don't have a huge mess of flour all over my prep space. Now, there's some argument over, the shape, the size, the thickness, whatever. Once again, this doesn't have to be perfect. It's whatever you want it to be. As long as you can rub your hand across the top of it and not stick, you are good to go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to transfer it over to a pan, And we're going to bake it in the oven for about 2 minutes just to kind of pre-bake it. So that way you have a nice, fully cooked crust. You don't want to be putting toppings straight on this. The reason being is toppings go on this, adds more moisture, doesn't cook all the way through, no matter how thin the crust is. So you want to be pre-baking this for at least 2 minutes, just as is. Now, who has time to make sauce? I certainly don't. And there's a lot of people out there that do make their own sauces. Congratulations, fantastic. But I can't, so I have to buy something store-bought. And one of my favorites to buy comes in this nice yellow can, and I'm going to cover up all the names. Let's just say that it's an Italian name, imagine that. And it is very, very, very good sauce. So we're going to be using this on our pizza. And that 2 minutes should be just about up. And let's check on the crust. Ooh, looking good. You don't want it to be cooked too much. Just enough. There we are. Good. Now we're going to let this sit because, let's face it, this thing is hot. We don't want to be putting any toppings on this while it's hot. So we're going to let it sit for a few minutes till it cools down just a bit, and then we'll move on. Alright, so I went and I sat down with the wifey, and now it should be about time to go ahead and place our sauce and our toppings onto this pizza. So, let's get started. So then next I have some oregano and a little bit of parsley I'm going to go ahead and throw on there. Alright, now we're going to start layering on the cheese. Like I said, my favorite part. So we got our Munster cheese, and we've also got our mozzarella. You can mix them together, you can put them on separate. I'm just going to go ahead and put them on separate. That should do it. Okay, from here, it's really up to you on what you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of Parmesan to it. Some people really like Parmesan, some people hate it. I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle just a little bit, not too terribly much. You don't have to be fancy on there. Just, and there we go. Just like that. Okay, now we're going to take this thing and we're going to throw it in the oven. We're going to throw it in the oven for 25 minutes or so, probably a little bit less, seeing as this is a fairly thin pizza. So 25 minutes in the oven at 450, and we should be good to go and good to eat. Alright, so in all actuality, it's been about 15 minutes instead of 20. And oh, she looks good. Slowly take this thing out of the oven. Ooh, that's hot. Look at that. Look at that. Make sure you turn the oven back off. Let her sit for a little bit. We don't want to scald our mouths. And then we'll go ahead and cut her up. Alright. There you go. So, homemade pizza, well, mostly homemade, made from halfway scratch at least. There she is, beautiful as can be. I'm gonna let this cool down, gonna package it up, and it's coming to you, Sean. So I'll see you back in the basement.
I can't wait for this. I don't really understand why I'm wearing a blindfold, but...
It's a blind taste test.
Oh, right, okay.
Ready? Ready?
Do I need to open?
Yeah, open. There you go. Take a bite.
Mmm.
Yeah.
Wow, man. I'm impressed. Tastes just like Little Caesars.
Yeah, so I did actually make you pizza. So.
You did?
Yes.
Oh, thanks. I like Little Caesars. That's okay, too.
You like it?
Yes.